All right, first and foremost, I would like to say, Call Halam La, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakah Kwadash, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai. I would like to give double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone that do rule well. Peace and salutations to the hopeful elect, the 1/3 men, women, and children that believe in this doctrine and its 100% truth and sincerity. All right, this is the brother Malak Tazadak Adawan, and I want to bring out the scripture of Zechariah 11:5. And it reads, whose possessors slay them and hold themselves not guilty. Okay, so I brought this out basically to talk about the Carmelo Anthony situation with the young fella there that was, found guilty. In this case, the world can pretty much see through, all the propaganda and the hoopla and the speculations. But initially, the whole encounter with him and the Metcalf boy was, a clear case of self-defense from a bully. All right? But in this situation, Jake actually slayed Esau. And that pretty much caused him to get slayed in the courtroom, which it came out that, it was an all-white jury, you know what I'm saying? And, they use that of his peers, but, it'd be all age brackets and groups in there. So, so it could be, old school Edomites in there, full of hate, and it could be new school Edomites, that was taught from the old school Edomites with a perpetual hatred. All right, but yeah, he got hit with a 35-year sentence, for basically defending himself. Now, what Jake gotta understand is that, even though you could argue self-defense, you don't have the same rights here as Esau has. Okay, you're not allowed to pretty much stand your ground and execute your your civil liberties and demand your rights here, because Esau, brought Jake over here as slaves. So, and it goes into whose possessors slay them. So, Jake is a possession here. You know what I mean? So you really don't have rights. It's just under the guise. It just sounds good. It just looks good on paper, to say that, every man is created equal. But when you think about the Constitution, when that was written, Jake was in slavery. Jake was 3/5 of a man. So that Constitution wasn't meant for you, Jake. So, but a lot of people rationalize with the whole saying of I'd rather be judged by 12 than carried by 6. So, I wouldn't advise you to try to, defend yourself to that magnitude unless unless it was really life or death. Because either way, you're dead. But, but if the Lord is, going to have mercy on you, then, he would have had Carmelo's enemies at peace with him, and he possibly would have beat that case, but or got off with a lesser charge, something with like manslaughter, you know. But yeah, we're just finishing it out, and it reads, "And they that sell them say, Blessed be the Lord." All right, so these possessors are actually, celebrating. You know what I mean? They're celebrating in the effect of thinking that the Lord has blessed them by, giving them slaves to barter, to buy and sell, with. So, but in a sense, the Lord did give Jacob to these heathen nations, for punishment. Not for our destruction, but hey, hard head, what I'm saying? Cause for a soft behind, as they used to say back in the day. But yeah, so they found themselves, being blessed here, For I am rich, see? And it goes to show you there that's true wealth is slaves. You know what I'm saying? The manpower, the ability to have, a economy built totally off of a low startup cost. Zero in this case with slaves. Other than buying them, but so yeah, gold, diamonds, precious metals, precious stones. That's true wealth, and having slaves. And their own shepherds pity them not. See there? So yeah, they don't have any pity for Jake, man. When either they get gunned down in the streets, or in this case, Jake trying to defend himself. Now if it was another Jake, he probably wouldn't have nearly got as much time. You know what I mean? But that goes to show you that the market came, man. The Lord, what I mean, prohibited Jake to slay Cain, man, to lay hands on him, man. You know what I'm saying? Because he had to, fulfill his future destiny. You know what I'm saying? Which was, to start up Babylon 2.0. In future times, to where we have here now, this great whore. So Esau had to be preserved until, later prophecy. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, man. But that's where we at here, man. Jay got to understand that, you can't go around exercising your rights like Esau do, man. Trying to quote unquote defend yourself, Now I ain't saying, you let somebody have their way with you and, treat you like a welcome mat, but, you got to use your mind. You got to use your intuition, Jake. You know what I'm saying? What you thought was going to happen, man? They don't look at you like, oh, this poor black kid was being attacked, by Darren there, you know what I'm saying? The male Karen, Darren, but no, they gonna champion their people. You know what I'm saying? They gonna look at Metcalf as the wholesome, all American, teenage boy. He had his whole future ahead of him. You snuffed his life out, But clearly the video shows him shoving Carmelo and bullying him, trying to, kick him up from up out of their tent. So, hey man, you make your bed, you gotta lay in it. Unfortunately, that's how this place works here. So yeah, I want to bring out Deuteronomy 28 and 32, and it reads, "Thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people." Right? Ain't that's what happened to us, Jake? You know what I'm saying? We were given unto another people. That's what I just said. We were brought here as slaves. You know what I'm saying? As a possession. You know? So yeah, we're not looked at as equals here. You know what I mean? We don't have the same privileges, as they call it, white privilege. We don't have black privilege here, if you will. You know what I mean? We don't have Israelite privilege here. As if you didn't know, the blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans are the 12, consists of the 12 tribes of Israel. Okay, we make up the 12 tribes, of God's chosen people, right? And if you don't know that, I don't know what to tell you. You must have been living up on the rock for the last, I don't know, 15 some odd years now. Since the truth been out, going forth strong on, the World Wide Web, the unicorn. And it reads, "And thine eyes shall look and fail with longing for them all the day long." See? That's the Anthony family, man. You know what I'm saying? They're longing, they're looking, for him, to come home. They're probably, going up in his room, thinking he up there still, hoping they gonna see him. Sitting in his room doing whatever, playing PS5 or something. Maybe calling them downstairs for dinner. It's sad, man. When you look at it, because to be completely honest, he was within his, God-given right to defend himself, but like I said, going back to this wicked ass nation, Jake, this is not your rest, right? And it reads, "And there shall be no might in thy hand." That's the point right there. There shall be no might in thy hand. So they're not going to be able to get their son out of prison. You know what I'm saying? It's nothing they can do other than try to file for an appeal. But they're still, at the mercy of this injustice system. You know what I'm saying? For Jake, this system is unjust, man. You know what I'm saying? The balances is off. You know what I'm saying? The lady of law is supposed to be blind. You know what I'm saying? The scales of the law is supposed to be blind, man. But yeah, there's no might in their hand, to get their son back, But, possibly just, get a high profile lawyer, pay them off, pay the judge off, because all it is about money. It just boils down to money. You know what I mean? They just want to run you through the system, consume your time, consume your funds, and it's just a way to keep their economy going, man. You know what I'm saying? To pad the lawyers' pockets, the judge pockets, the whole criminal justice or injustice system, and it just keeps it going. You know what I'm saying? Jake is a perpetual, commodity here, man. You know. But yeah, But yeah, this place gotta go, man. You know what I mean? It ain't nothing but wicked here. It ain't nothing but wicked here. Okay. So like I said, this is not your rest. This is uh Micah 2:10, right? And it reads, "Arise ye and depart, for this is not your rest." See there? So basically, it's telling us to arise, Kwam Yasharala, to come out of this mindset, this matrix, not to physically leave, you know what I mean? Because this is where this is where the great exodus, the final exodus, is going to occur at in America, But it means basically to use the system but not abuse it. You pretty much want to straddle the fence with this place. You know what I mean? You want one foot in, one foot out. Ready to jump out. You know what I'm saying? At the drop of a dime. You know what I mean? Because we are gonna have to become pilgrims. You know what I'm saying? In the time of Jacob's trouble, right? So, there's no need to get all, comfortable here because, yet once again, this is not your rest, Jake. All right? And the reason why, it says because it is polluted. See there? It's wicked, man. It's nothing but a cesspool of sin here. It's very obvious that this place is waxing worse. Is circling the drain, But right now it's a cesspool. You know what I mean? It's backed up. The plumbing is clogged, but it's definitely going to be circling the drain real soon. Okay. The bottom about to fall out this bitch. Nasty whore. Sick of this place, man. Sick of these niggas. Hire some help. Yeah, get rid of these niggas, right? Yeah, call on the death angels, man. Get rid of a lot of these adversaries of the Most High, man. These antichrists, if you will, anti-Yahweh Shai, right? And it reads, "It shall destroy you." See, you're gonna be destroyed here, Jake. The enemy, man. He travels to and fro through the earth, seeking whom he can devour. You know what I mean? The enemy has come only to kill, steal, and destroy, man. Okay? So you're gonna be destroyed here, man. This place is not our rest. Okay? To you black, so-called black Hispanics and Native Americans, this is not our rest. So don't get situated here, man. Don't get comfortable. You know what I mean? You can take pit stops here and there, but other than that, you gotta keep on the move, man. It's a long walk. Like the movie, man. And he that endureth unto the end, the same shall be saved. So we gotta keep pushing. You know what I'm saying? We gotta keep our spirits alive, man. Keep, how they say, keep hope alive. We gotta keep our spirits alive. Keep our morale up. So yeah, man. And it reads, even with the sore destruction, see? And that can correlate with the MOTB, man. You know what I'm saying? The grievous sore, man. It's gonna be a sore destruction here for you Jakes, man. That's gonna go down to Egypt for help. Okay? There's nothing here, man. You know, this is a case of like the movie The Night of the Living Dead, man. You know what I'm saying? This is the Day of the Living Dead, man. You know, these motherfuckers is walking around in broad daylight dead. You know what I'm saying? Jake is dead in the streets, man. Their dead bodies shall lay in the streets, man. You know what I'm saying? You know, so you gonna get slayed here, either by Esau himself, by his blessing, the sword, or you gonna get slayed by his, you know, injustice system. You know, so it's a double-edged sword, man. You know, I hate it here. This is a terrible place. You know. Kind. All right. Salakia. Grab this scripture here. All right. This is John 10 and 10. All right. And it reads, "The thief cometh not but for to steal and to kill and to destroy." You see there? Okay. A sword destruction. All roads lead to the MOTB, man. The M, the O, the T, the B. This shit gonna get MOT deep. It's gonna get MOT deep. Yes, sir. MOTB deep. Yeah, man. This is all Esau do, man. This is his MO, man. You know what I'm saying? This is what he was born to be, man. You know what I mean? He was born to be wild. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, so it reads, I am come that they might have life and that they might have it more abundantly. Okay? So yeah, so that's Yahweh Shai, man. He gonna come, man. And he gonna save us, man. You know what I'm saying? You know, he's gonna be our salvation, you know what I mean, out of this place. You know what I mean? You know, we're gonna have everlasting life in the kingdom, you know, where we can live it more abundantly, as the scripture said. You know, because we're not living fully here. You know what I'm saying? We're not living full lives here. Okay? You know, you got to keep looking over your shoulder. You got to be concerned when the police, you know what I'm saying, you know, step to you. Either they're in your presence, they're behind you, they're sitting on the side of the road, you know, because Jake is a prey here, man. You know what I mean? So yeah, man. But this place is wicked, man. That's what Esau's come to do: to steal, to kill, and to destroy. That's his mission. You know what I mean? Yeah. And this is what's gonna happen. You know what I'm saying? You know, which he's gonna come and save us. But if Yahweh Shai wasn't to come back, then this is what will happen. This is Matthew 24 and 22. And it reads, and except those days should be shortened. See, time is speeding up. You know, I just saw something. I forgot what it was, but it said 2030 is not too far away. You know, I mean, you know, Lord, Lord willing, you know, Abba You know what I'm saying? Adawan Rataza, you know, we don't have that long here, which I know we don't, you know, but, you know, speaking as a man, you know, we don't know. You know what I mean? But, you know, the end is near. That's all we can, you know, take from it is like we can see the signs, man. You know what I'm saying? You know, we can see the handwriting on the wall, you know. But, you know, but this is just to say, you know what I mean? If this place was to continue to go on, it says there should no flesh be saved, okay? But, see, there's always a clause, right? But this is why Yahweh Shai is going to come and save us, right? But for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. See there? So, yeah, you know, because Esau is a murderous bastard, man. You know what I mean? You know, so he's a coward as well, you know? So he's going to either catch you by yourself and kill you, or, you know, he's going to use weapons of mass destruction to kill you. You know what I'm saying? From long range. You know what I'm saying? But with a push of a button, you know? As you know, brothers and, you know, the world can see that, you know, all these drones and, you know, different robots and, you know, humanoid and dogs, robot dogs, you know. Esau don't want to, you know, do the hand-to-hand combat no more, man. You know what I mean? He never really did. You know what I mean? You know, he always used technology, you know, with his weaponry, you know. Well, yeah, man. You know, this is what's happening, man. You know, this is what's happening right in front of our eyes, man. These days are being shortened, man. You know, because we got to get the hell up out of here, man. You know what I mean? Because this is what Esau is doing, man. This is what Esau is doing to us. This is Daniel 7 and 25. All right? And it reads, and he shall speak great words against the Most High. See? Goddamn devil. You know what I'm saying? God doesn't exist. What's that movie came out a few years back? God's Not Dead. You know? But that was Esau mocking. You know what I'm saying? The Most High, man. You know? Right? But yeah, it is blasphemy. You know what I mean? He speaks against, you know, the Bible and, you know, the Most High, you know, lawfully, man. You know what I mean? With content and hate. All right? And shall wear out the saints of the Most High. See? That's what he's doing, man. You know what I'm saying? That's why people have to work 2 jobs now, because why? The rent is astronomically high now for no fucking reason. There's no home improvements. There's no new additions being added on to these homes that people rent. You know, food prices is sky high and through the roof. You know what I mean? But Esau wants to distract you. He wants to distract you by any means necessary. So he preys on your fears, okay? Because nobody wants to be, you know, the guy, you know what I'm saying, at the intersection, standing up there holding the, you know what I mean, anything help sign. You know? You know, Jake definitely don't want to live like that. You know, Esau used to living out in the caves and shit in the woods, so he's fine with it. You know what I mean? But your average Jake, you don't see a lot of Jakes out there. You know what I mean? You see more Edomites now. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, everybody is complaining about this place, man. Even the Edomites. Okay? Because they're just finding it, too costly to survive here, to live here, man. You know? But yeah, he's trying to wear out the saints. You know what I'm saying? The elect, in particular, because, he wants you to work, 10, 12 hours, 6, even 7 days a week, man. He'll sneak in, legally, start you in the beginning of the week and end you at the beginning of the following week, man. So he can get 7 days out you, a good week out you, man. You know what I mean? And think to change times and laws. See there? Just like I said, he'll find a way, man, to have your ass work 7 days a week. You know what I'm saying? Which goes against, you know what I'm saying? The laws of not just Esau land, world, also our laws, you know what I'm saying, as Israelites, because what? You have to have a day of rest. You have to adhere to the Sabbath, man. And it's good reasons for that, man, because the body can break down. The body will break down and you'll get sick like that, man. Working constantly. You know what I mean? So yeah, and they shall be given into his hand until a time and times and the dividing of time. See there? So yeah, man. So there's a set time that that this man has to rule, and there's a set time when Yahushua is going to come back. You know what I mean? So we have to divide the time. We have to understand, prophecies, man, signs and wonders, right? But ultimately, this is what's going to happen. It's starting to happen now, right? With Esau, and his descendants, right? Because the wool is being pulled off of everybody's eyes, man. To see that this man don't give a fuck about the so-called minorities, which we are the majority. You know what I'm saying? There's more, if you will, melanated people. You know what I'm saying? Than Esau's red pasty ass, right? But everybody's starting to see, man, that this man don't give a fuck about, Jake or himself, Esau. You know what I'm saying? Edom. And your president, Nero, he even said, at a on the White House lawn, I think he was either getting off or getting on Air Force One, but I spoke on this before, but he said the reporter asked him about the war in Iran and about the finances of the American people behind it, and he's all out admitted it and said he didn't give a fuck about Americans' finances. He don't even think about it, which is crazy in itself. But that's your president. Y'all elected him, right? You know what I mean? Or so you think. But you know what I mean? The banking family put him in there. You know what I'm saying? Who you will call the Illuminati, man. You know what I'm saying? The 1%. right? To do their bidding, to bring, a social divide, you know what I'm saying? A societal collapse, right? But this is what Edom is doing now, right? This is the book of Sirach, Ecclesiasticus, the book of Sirach 41:7. The children will complain of an most highly father, because they shall be reproached for his sake. See there? So yeah, your everyday Edomites, man. You know what I'm saying? They're complaining, man. Your Joe Dirt, you know what I'm saying? Your Joe Schmo. Edomites, man, they're getting judged, man, for their father. You know what I'm saying? And they're complaining about him. They're complaining about him. So yeah, this place, man, this place has no choice but to cave in on itself. You know what I'm saying? These replicas of Mount Petra. These tall ass caves, man. They ain't gonna have no choice but to cave in on themselves. So yeah, man. But we got a savior coming. You know what I mean? Jacob, you know what I mean, shall be saved. You know what I'm saying? Jacob shall be saved out of it, man. The times of Jacob trouble. You know what I'm saying? But with that, I'm going to close out and say, Thawada, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakar Quadash. Till next time, Shalom.